Hey everybody, welcome to another Volition stream. I'm Josh Stinson, the video editor here and stream runner, producer, czar. We used to call me the stream czar too. We got a new guest on today. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Rios. I'm a technical animator here.
And over in the control room, as always, hi Mike.
Hey everybody, Mike Watson here, Senior Community Developer. I'll be moderating chat and forwarding any questions over to Josh, and I will turn you back over to you guys.
Thanks. And yeah, if you got any questions, please feel free to ask them, because this is another dev chat. We'll be talking about what you do here and how you got here and all that stuff. So I guess first thing is just can you kind of describe like what it is to be a technical animator here?
Okay. I mean, well, actually, that's actually pretty fun, in my opinion.
All right.
But for being a technical animator, and just to explain the role, is basically I create the digital skeleton for the characters and anything that has to move in the game or anything. And then basically that's what I do. So I prepare everything technical that the animators do in order to do their job. It's basically what I do.
Okay. Yeah, because it's like, I feel like even when I was like a kid, before I knew anything about how games were made, like seeing rigs for models and stuff was something you always saw in developer diaries for games and like behind the scenes stuff. So this is like one of the few things that like I kind of was aware it existed even before then. But it's like I've recently, every once in a while, like you've been telling me when they were happening at first too, like they were, you know, we have our own little mocap studio here now.
Yes, we do.
So a lot of animations just get like recorded in-house now, which is really cool.
Yes.
But, you know, I've been filming them doing some of that mocap stuff, but like when they're capturing all that stuff, are you basically next in line to like handle all that stuff?
It depends. So for mocap data, we normally just pass it to the animators because they tend to clean the animation after the mocap is recorded. If there are any issues with the mocap retargeting to the rig or things like that, then it goes to tech animation. But tech animation does take a big part on setting all that up, like having a rig that will actually work with the mocap data that we're recording.
Okay. Huh. I guess before we get even more in depth with how all this stuff works, working here at Volition, is this your first game?
It is. It is my first industry job.
Oh man, me too. How'd you get here?
I got here. So after graduation, I went to Full Sail University, and they have a career development office, and they help you find a job. So while talking to them, they had connections to people that work here.
Oh, nice.
And then I just, asking people around, is there an opening? Yes, okay, then submit your stuff here. Like, okay, here you go.
Nice. So yeah, were you just interested in animation in general, or is it like you really wanted to work in games?
So it's a long, it's a long story, but basically short, all I wanted when I was a kid is just basically go into 3D. Like, I've been interested in 3D since I saw Toy Story 1.
Okay.
I had no idea what a rig was up until I actually touched it.
Yeah.
But then when I went to Full Sail, and I went to Full Sail with an open mind. Like, I knew I wanted to work in games, but I actually studied on the computer animation program, which is more for film, to make Toy Story and Finding Nemo and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But because I decided to do rigging, that's actually also something that we can do in games. It's just different changes in how we set up things.
Right. Yeah. You said there's just some changes in how you set up things, but it's just like, how different is it, like, doing stuff for games? Like, is there certain types of work you do a lot more compared to if you were doing just, like, traditional CG animation? Yeah,
so we are limited to what the game engine allows us to do. So long as the game engine allows us to do it, then we are free to do it. The main difference is that we can use, like, let's say we're working in Maya, right? And we're making a film, and we have a lot of deformers and dynamics that we can use. because we're just recording it from within Maya versus can the game actually handle this kind of dynamics or deformation or things like
Right.
that. So we're limited to joints or things like that to be able to push it into game so that the game can read it.
Okay. Yeah, because I've always been like, I feel like especially with like older games, like obviously there are tons of reasons why animation was more limited
Yes.
for that stuff, just memory and poly count and just all that stuff. But there's always been some things I've seen in like animated movies where I'm just like, man, when can we see that in a game? And I feel like some of the stuff is, I don't know how much this would have to do, particularly with rigging, but like I've seen some games like fake certain things that is specifically like skin deforming and stuff like that. And you generally only see that in like a scene or something, and it's like made just for that. But are there ways to cheat certain things that otherwise you can't normally do? Like for a cutscene, for example, where it's like you really want this one specific type of shot. Do you ever have to cheat that type of stuff in?
Yeah, so actually for cinematic cutscenes, we actually do cheat a lot. But by that I mean we make it as believable as we can.
Yeah.
And it's different from in-game. So we can actually have more cinematic appeal to, of course, the cinematic itself. But we use a little bit of different assets sometimes in-game versus in a cinematic.
Okay.
So we do get that mode of more realism or the quality that we want.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's so here's one thing I've been wondering about too, just like seeing people do mocap recently, is so it's just like, okay, we're just getting a take of somebody walking. It's just a walk.
Yes.
And tons of animations have to loop.
Correct. Especially in the game.
Yeah, especially in the
Which
game.
is different from cinematic. Yes. Well, film.
So with these looping animations and stuff like that, when it's just a person like they walk the whole length of the room, basically.
Yes.
So it's like probably longer than what the actual animation will be, I assume. How do you actually make that loop? Because it's like a person doesn't perfectly loop when they're walking or anything like that.
And that's where the animators come in, right? We start the one cycle. I believe we do one cycle. And they decide where it starts and where it ends. And because, at least for in-game, it has to walk in the same spot. So we kind of fake the movement on how it is actually walking.
Okay.
So we calculate the speed on how the character is walking and how fast it will travel in the world to actually make it look like it's actually walking.
Okay. Man, it's... Every time, like, so I never got very far into it, but I was also interested in animation for a little bit. But it was just like working with Maya. Well, okay. I didn't even work with Maya.
Okay.
Did you ever work with a program called Bryce?
No.
Okay. It's really old. So it was an animation / modeling program that like a lot of like middle schools and high schools had. I don't know if it was ever used as a professional tool.
Okay.
But yeah, I was really curious if you ever touched that thing or not. I wonder if any other animators here have ever used Bryce.
I don't know. Well, the one I did touch, and it wasn't for an animation, it was Lightwave. And that's one I consider really old.
Okay.
I did look it up a few years ago, and it looked a lot better, but I've not touched it because I had such a bad experience.
Yeah, I have no idea if Bryce still exists or not, but yeah, it was just like an all-in-one. It was just like a much cheaper version of Maya, it seemed, just for like kind of just getting used to the idea of the 3D, concepts of working with 3D and stuff, but yeah, that was it was extremely clunky to use. Granted, this was like 2002, 3.
Okay.
So
that's when I started college, actually. 2003, yeah.
I was in like 9th, 10th grade?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay, to be fair, I went to college when I was 16.
Oh, okay, you went early.
Yeah. It was, long story short, they had to, something happened in my high school that had to like go into like more rapid faster high school, I guess. So every 6 months I would pass a class, or a year, I should say.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What?
I do not recommend it. But basically, I started college in 2003 when I was 16. This was still, I'm from Puerto Rico. I don't know if I mentioned that before. So I started in Puerto Rico, going to the only college that had or was going to have some sort of 3D.
Yeah.
Because I wanted that, and being 16, being told, yeah, you got to move to the U.S. if you really want to do that. It's like, yeah, I'm 16. I'm not going to do that right now. So, and they kept telling me, yeah, like we're going to have that program like soon, like around 6 months or a year. That 3D program is going to start.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so they put me in graphic design in the meantime. And
that's what I went to college for.
Really?
Yeah.
So they, while in graphic design, I actually got to touch Maya, 3ds Max, and Lightwave.
Yeah.
And Lightwave was like just the worst. Surprisingly enough, I didn't like Maya at the time. I actually liked more 3ds Max, but that was because they only had as like model stuff, not actually rigging or animating or anything.
Okay.
So unfortunately for that school, like the 3D course got in 3 months before my graduation for that bachelor's. So I didn't do 3D there. When I actually went to Full Sail, it was 2013. It's basically when I started. Like I went to campus on 2013.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you bring up Full Sail because I feel like there's a decent chunk of people here who came from Full Sail.
Mostly animators.
Mostly, mostly,
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, everybody except one is from Full Sail.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Man, I didn't know it was that pervasive.
Yes.
Don't some people here like go back to Full Sail for like? Do some people teach there or something like that? There's like some type of special program. I thought some people from Volition would like go there.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So we have some programs. I'm actually starting a program at Full Sail at the moment, and I've actually gone back to Full Sail and give critiques to students on their demo reels and whatnot, and it was great. It was a new experience for me, and it was really cool. And we'll be super happy to do it again.
That's cool.
But yeah, we've been doing that. There are some Volition Full Sailors. Putting that together sounds weird. That have gone back to like Hall of Fame because Full Sail has Hall of Fame and they bring in people and all that stuff. So it's pretty fun whenever that happens. Especially when you're a student because they're like the celebrities in the industry and you see them come in.
Right.
Which is why I'm saying it's an interesting feeling because when I went back, and I received the same, oh my gosh, he's from Volition. I was like, oh, don't look at me like that.
By the way, Matrix Vingian, a regular in our chat, says, Luis Rios is an unnatural genius, and he's here to make pimp walks for us.
Ooh. All right.
All right. So another thing I was curious about is, working with making rigs and all this. Mm-hmm. So, like, there was a month ago or something.
Okay.
I was filming something. You were making stuff in the kitchen for Piranda.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
I was filming stuff for that, and I was, like, crouching, like, not without... I didn't have my back against the wall or anything. I was just doing a really deep crouch, just with really good balance. And you're asking me, like, oh, we were looking for somebody to do this for mocap or something.
That's right.
And... I haven't done that yet. I don't know if it's still needed or anything.
Well, it was between one or you two people. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But my thought is, like, okay, like, people have to put on a mocap suit and all of that. I am smaller and shorter than most people. Does that affect the rig at all? Like, being a different size person?
So, for mocap, we actually... Let me say it this way. We have different suits for different sizes of body types. So in the software that we use to record that mocap, we actually have to put your measurements.
Oh.
So the rig will actually be scaled to your size.
Oh, okay.
And then it doesn't matter the size that you have because we retarget that animation to our rig.
Huh.
So it basically reads the rotation information from your movements and passes it on to this new rig.
Okay, and so essentially like calibrating like with the measurements of the person, like that doesn't really cause any, like there aren't any, is there any, like, do you have to do any like cleanup afterwards just for like the difference still? Or is it like...
Yes, it really depends. There is a cleanup process for the mocap data, which that will come into play. And after that, regardless, the animators have to go in and clean and make sure it's moving the way we want to.
Right. Michael Perry, 123 in the chat asking, got any tips for getting the hang of 3ds Max?
So I am a Maya person. For actually Agents of Mayhem, we did use the Xmax a lot because that's where we rigged the characters and all the props and everything. Depends on what you want to know. But if you got any Maya questions, I can definitely answer that.
Are there any like good just general resources online for like Maya stuff?
Yes.
Any good tutorials?
Oh jeez, they changed their name, so I can't remember it right now. But mostly I've been going to Udemy because they have really cheap courses and they're really good, to be honest.
Okay, how do you spell that?
Udemy, Udemy.
Okay.
.com. They normally it's a promotion and not anyway, but they normally have really good sales and you just get those for pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's good to know. This is something I didn't mention because like the last 2 streams ago I was talking about my own thing. If you are interested in learning like video editing or especially like motion graphics stuff, Creative Cow, that website that was where I like self-taught myself a lot of stuff just watching their tutorials. They have lots of them. Granted, lots of the tutorials are from like 2010 now, but like a lot of the basics for like how After Effects work are still the same. So, by the way, like how much do these types of tools for rigging all this stuff, how much do they change like year to year? Like stuff you learned several years ago, can that still apply?
It can, depending like the bare basics. Yes, you can still use them. Okay, but there are always like new techniques and it keeps evolving.
So
like
you always got to keep learning constantly.
I've been talking to my full sail instructor for rigging, and he was telling me about all this new stuff that they've been teaching the students. And I'm like, that's like I wish I would have known them back then, right? But this is stuff that keeps coming up.
Yeah. We also have Jodamu, I guess, in the chat. Sounds like they might know you.
Yes, I do. Hello.
Asking, I would like to know if Luis has any good dip recipes that involve onions and cream cheese.
Of course you do. I've actually taught her how to do this.
Oh, yeah?
But yes, I do have a chicken dip that which I brought to... The animation team tends to have events. Yeah. Like Parranda. Yep. So we have a cookout soon, and every cookout I always bring this chicken dip. That I heard, like, it was from somebody that knew in Puerto Rico, and it only told me the recipe once. And I just, for some reason, never forgot. So when I got to Full Sail, it's like, I'm going to try that. And I made it so many times that it's actually tasting really good now.
All right.
So just keep going at it because you're really close. I mean, the last time you did it for me was really good, so...
that reminds me, I'm trying to remember what it was for Parranda. There was something I had that I only had a little bit of it, but it was really good. It had a fruit in it. It was kind of spicy. Oh, what was it?
Fruit and kind of spicy.
I think it was something with fruit in it.
And this Parranda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like last month or something. It was like in a little paper cup. God, what was it? I really can't remember. We'll remember it at some point, but... we got another question from the chat. DMK Mr. Wong, too, asking, how much do tech animators work with the engine programmers to decide how complex rigs should be, and do the limitations affect how you approach a rig?
So we haven't had to do it that much because when I got here, most of it was already done. But whenever we want to implement new stuff, we do talk to the programmers to make sure that we can add it to our engine, because that's a great thing about having our own engine is because the programmers are right there and we can just, hey, how about we do this new thing about it and let's work together at it. And the feedback on that is always good. Like right now, can't say what it is, but I'm actually working on something new that we can add to the engine.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I almost wish, like, because I brought up, like, filming mocap and, like, filming Parranda and stuff, and I was almost like, oh, maybe I can show some of that footage I filmed, but it's just like... At some point, we'll probably see that stuff, because it's a lot of fun stuff I've been filming. But yeah, since we brought up a couple times, can you expand a little bit on what parranda is and what that is for the studio?
Okay, so parranda is basically the Puerto Rican, I would say Hispanic because it's not just in Puerto Rico, version of Christmas caroling. So basically, on my first winter here, the animation team was having, I think it was like we just wanted to have lunch together, and we decided on like burritos and avocado, and it's like, sure, let's have that. And somebody had like Hispanic music on a projector.
Yeah.
And because I was looking out the window when it was snowing, and I'm like, I'm just gonna bring up what parranda is, and I showed videos of what parranda is, which is basically a crazy party that starts from midnight till morning, and you just jump from house to house, specific houses that people and you have to gather in front of the house with all your instruments, sometimes microphones, and you just start singing up until they wake up, invite you in, give you food, and then some of them have to come with you to the next house. So the lead animator at the time loved this idea so much that he wanted to have Christmas in July at Volition. So every year since then, we've been doing parranda, where we got the same idea. So we go from room to room in specific rooms where we already put like some like food or drink in each room. So we sing not necessarily parranda songs because that would mean teaching Spanish to everybody here, and that takes a lot of time.
Right.
But what we did, we took some famous song and we just translated to Spanish. So some of us got to sing the Spanish versions. Some of us just sing the English version, like Feliz Navidad.
Yeah.
And things like that. And it's a lot of fun. At the end, we get to hit a piñata, so it's pretty good. I like it.
I've been here for several years, and so I've seen this happen a couple of times. But every other time it's happened, I've been pretty busy, or I was out or something for most of the day, so I didn't really get to participate at all. I am still thinking about the eggnog I had at the end.
Yes, I made that actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. You made that.
It was coquito.
It was really good.
Yes.
If anybody here ever gets an opportunity to try that, I'm a person who does not like eggnog, and that was really good.
Yeah, so that's the thing. When I came to the U.S., I'm like, I'm going to try this eggnog that I always hear on TV and everybody likes. Yeah. When I tried it was so bland.
Yeah.
Because I add so many seasonings and things that normally are in coquito that the taste is completely different.
Yeah, it's even the consistency. It was like I was allowed to drink really sweet pancake batter. And it was delicious.
To be fair, it is meant to have alcohol. I just don't put alcohol when I bring it here because I don't know who drinks and who doesn't, right? So they're allowed to put alcohol if they want it. But it's supposed to bring that sweetness down a little bit.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
It would still probably be pretty good, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, that's been a lot of fun. Hopefully we can show some footage of that publicly.
Yes.
Especially because Nathan Turner, who's been on stream once before, I believe, he went at that piñata. He obliterated
He one-shot it, literally.
he had one of our plastic Red Faction Gorilla hammers for hitting the piñata, and he just obliterated that piñata. It was great.
We have made GIFs. We have made memes. When we export stuff, that's the image that is in the
that's the thing that comes up with. Oh, that's great. That's great.
So, you're welcome, Nathan. Me and Nancy know this, so it's not news.
Yeah, I guess before going back to rigging and the work you do here, let's switch over to the screen over here, and we'll take a look at your little demo reel.
Yeah, so this is something I created basically by the end of Full Sail. You have to create a demo reel, which is what you present whenever you want to apply for a job. Yeah. So this is what I made at the very end, because this is again, this is when I went to Full Sail before starting here. So this is pretty old. Yeah. And it has old stuff. But I also added a little bit of Agents of Mayhem, which is what I worked. It was mostly skinning.
Okay.
So it's just, I decided on this scene just because it's a scene that impacts me the most, just because it was the first time I saw my characters talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I just liked it. So there it is.
Yeah, so this is the first place you worked at. Agents of Mayhem, was that the first game here
Yes.
you worked on? Okay.
Actually, this mosquito was not even on the plans.
Oh, really?
Some student asked me for help because he was having a hard time rigging that.
Yeah.
And I'm just sure I'll have it done. And I had it done in like 2 hours. And when my instructor saw it, it's like, yeah, that's your best asset. You know?
Yeah.
Because it went through all the pipeline. I was like, oh, great.
Something the facial rigging stuff, I'll even go back to it here. I'm pretty interested in, because I've always had a hard time like visualizing how do you even construct a rig for a facial rig. It seems really complicated.
It is. And that was my first attempt, which wasn't the best, to be honest. And I've learned a lot more since I've gotten here. But it worked. And having to create not just a facial rig, but a UI to have on the side so that the animators can animate it easier on it.
Yeah. So, just curious, like generally, like if you were to make a facial rig here, would you still be making the interface, or is that someone else's responsibility?
So my team still does it.
Okay.
It's not just me. So we have a team and we divide the work. So yes, we have one done. For Agents of Mayhem was a little bit different because we mostly animated in Motion Builder.
Yeah.
So it was a bone-driven facial rig. So whenever we went into Motion Builder already creates the controllers for you.
Right.
So we didn't have to have a UI for it. But right now, because we also can do it in Maya, then yes, we do have a UI for it.
Okay. Yeah, the facial rig, so this is, tell me if I'm wrong, this is how I've interpreted facial rigs, just from a little bit I've seen of it, just like that footage, essentially, is, so are you trying to, essentially, like you have a neutral face, it's rigged up, and then are you trying to essentially just make basically, like, this is what smiling at 100% looks like, and then the rest is kind of just like tweening in between?
Correct.
Okay. I got it right.
Yes, you did.
But yeah, that seems so difficult.
Yeah, it is. For the one I'm showing in my demo reel, it was mostly I pre-made expressions.
Yeah.
So it was already giving expression, and if we can tweak a little bit more, then you use the UI to tweak a little bit more.
Okay.
But here we have we divided by mouth and eye, so we attach those two attributes.
Yeah.
And from the maximum to normal, and then we just go around wherever we need it to be.
Okay. Man. We also have ACH He in the chat saying, please, can you talk any about the interview process and how dashingly handsome your manager was?
Of course. Yep, this is Evan Cox, actually. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
Hey, Evan. So, yeah, my interview process, I was okay. I'm pretty sure I've told you this before, but I'm going to say it again. For my interview process, I actually was flying to Texas 2 days before because I needed to leave Florida. And Texas was my ground, basically, because I was living with my uncles, to find a job and just go from there instead of going back to Puerto Rico, which would have been a lot more difficult for me.
Yeah.
So, while I was flying to Texas, one of my flights got canceled. So I had to stay a night somewhere else. To get to Texas on the day of the interview, to sleep for like an hour right before the interview, to then have an hour long interview, which I've never had before. So I was like shaking the whole time. Up until we started. To answer to his question, dashingly, yes, it was, because he actually made me feel really comfortable during the interview, which helped a lot. And after that, it was like, I had a art test, and then a Skype interview, which was even more nerve-wracking to me.
Okay.
But it was great because I could feel it went well, just because we were talking about snow, because I've only seen snow once in my life before coming here.
Yeah.
So at the very end, it's like, yeah, it's been snowing here. And one of the guys that interviewed me, that was in my team, literally took the camera and just took it out the window. Here, there's snow. That just made my day, just because it was so comfortable talking to them, and I'm pretty chill about it.
That's great. I just had another, just looking at this video some more, I had some other questions here. Let me go back. So, no, it's a bit further ahead, actually. So, like, just showing, like, these joints and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, so when creating a rig and all that, it's not just, well, maybe it isn't. Is it not just for animation, but is it also setting up for other systems? Like, I know, like, because I've done a really tiny amount of work in, like, Unreal Engine 4 or whatever. And there were times like, oh, I need to, like, animate, like, swinging this weapon. The weapon's a separate model. It has to, like, get set to a socket.
Yes.
Is that also part of rigging, setting up sockets and all that stuff, or is that someone else?
It can be someone else. You don't necessarily have to do it, though we have done it before.
Okay.
Especially for, like, Agents of Mayhem, we also had to do it for, like, hair simulations and things like that. Well, yeah. But normally I don't have to do it, but it is something that has to happen through the pipeline so we can get it correctly in game.
Okay. And like I've also, just curious, I've heard some various terminology regarding rigs and stuff, but I don't really know like the difference between like joints and all of that. Like, what are some of the like basic components of like a rig?
So if you go a little bit more forward, so I'll stop right there. So that besides the joints, we have to create controls. Basically, the controls manipulate the joints to be able to move them in the way you want to.
Okay.
Mostly because we have to keep the joint transformation or its information as clean as possible, and so do the controls. But it's an easier way than having to a bunch of things in the body. I mean, I know that's a lot of controls, but back then I didn't hide many. But yes, I am able to hide controls and make them visible whenever the animators want it. But it's an easier way to basically manipulate the character. And that's just the basics. To that, you can add more, like either simulations. Actually, this one, what I'm showing here, besides the model, is the Maya and cloth, which is basically cloth simulation on the wings. So I'm actually not animating the flapping of the wing, that's all simulated.
Okay. So like with like cloth sim and simulation like that, is it like a blessing to have that stuff? Like, oh, thank God I don't have to animate that? Or is it just like getting it set up is also...
So getting it set up, if you don't know much about how to handle simulation, it can be hard. Mostly because back then I was just moving sliders and let's see what happens. Because like I did have a class for it, but it happened so long before when I was creating the demo reel, you forget. Like if you don't use it every time. Right. Plus, Full Sail is one of those universities that you have a class per month. So I had a lot to think about between months. Like there were a lot of subjects in between.
We have SLNGA, not sure how to say that, Slinga, in the chat asking, how do you align the animation of a character with the animation of a gun reloading, grabbing the magazine, etc.? So it is different the way we do it here in game, but if we're going to talk simple cinematic, we do have a bone for props in the hand. So we attach that prop, let's say the gun, to the hand, and for animating you have a separate, the gun itself has a rig that you just animate upon. And then we do some visibility tricks to whether you throw the magazine or what happens to the magazine, and suddenly you have a new one. Right. So. Okay. Yeah, it's like I even though like I never got into animation very much after like messing with Bryce when I was 14, going like, this is too hard. I don't know, I have always enjoyed just like analyzing, just thinking about it. Because I'm a person who, like, when I play games, will, like, specifically go out of my way to make somebody reload just to go, what's it look like?
Yeah.
Nice. You know? But, like, do you frequently play, like, do you go out of your way to play games you otherwise might not just to study the animation or anything like that? Or how they, well, I guess it's probably more difficult to go like, oh, how did they rig something because you can't see it normally.
It depends, because you get used to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to go a little bit back before to explain that. So I actually thought I wanted to be an animator while I was in Full Sail. Okay. So I did study a lot of animation, basically, not just for, besides your animation, like I really got deep into facial expressions and whatnot. Yeah. So whenever I see a game, whenever I'm playing a game, or it really depends how I choose games, because I'm the kind of player that really likes quality, and mostly because I get to learn from that quality. Right?
Okay.
So when you playing a game, let's say Overwatch, because I play a lot of Overwatch, and their animation is really good. You can see like on their animation how how fluent it is, and how personalized it is per character. You get to learn a lot from it. And I find it really funny because they purposely break their rigs just to give a better way of animation, I guess. There is one of their highlight intros where Reinhardt is like hammering down, and there's one frame where his head just pops from like way over here to pop down just to give that emphasis.
That's great.
So it is something animation, like he's doing animation.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I would be able to find it very easily, but I don't know if you've... So there's several times I brought up JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on this stream for whatever reason. But the earlier opening theme songs of the show were CG, done in a way to make it look like 2D. Kind of like the Guilty Gear games, if you've seen those.
No, but I've seen JoJo.
Okay.
A little bit.
That anime has tons of extremely over-exaggerated, like, perspective-defying poses.
Okay.
And there are, like, blog posts where they show, like, the actual rigs they made for the characters and how they would cheat. Because it's like, they have some where it's like, oh, we turn the camera, and their arm here is, like, stretched out really far. The texture's all, you know, stretched out and stuff, just so that they can achieve the correct pose based on, like, how they were originally drawn and stuff. I'll have to send that to you later. Because that's... Yeah,
and that's the thing about cinematics. If the camera doesn't see it, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the idea.
Yeah, it's... I wonder how much even, like, realistic-looking stuff, like animation that's aiming to look real, how much they do that type of stuff.
So it is made to look real, but it's also exaggeration on it. So I guess it really depends on the game or the movie you're watching.
Right.
Like, I've been holding myself really hard to talking about Kingdom Hearts, but here we go.
Here we go.
So basically, like, that's a lot of unrealistic movement that you get, right? I'm just not gonna get into the whole Kingdom Hearts thing, but you know, the main character does a lot of things that you normally don't do. So it's mostly exaggerated, but it's still really appealing. Yeah,
it's there was a stream we did several years ago where we had some other animators on for the game Nier Automata.
Yes.
Because while that game might not be like the biggest like graphical powerhouse, at least I personally thought a lot of the at least animations made for the actual player characters were like really impressive looking.
Actually, every time I think of the Volition stream, that's the stream I think of.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I was watching the stream when it was happening.
Yeah. But yeah, that is a game I frequently think of when I think of like animation I really like. And are there, like, you brought up Kingdom Hearts 3, but are there any others that are like inspirations for you or something that you just greatly appreciate, like the work?
Yeah, like I said, Overwatch is one of them. I guess it really depends on what I'm looking for at the time.
Okay.
Because if I'm looking for something new, then I'll just go out of my way. What are people doing, kind of thing.
Right.
And going to about something that you said before, if you see something doing, your eye get used to and in breaking down how they did it.
Okay.
So that's how I like to learn. So every time I play a game, let's say Overwatch, for example, I tend to look, how they did that. if I see an emote, I was like, oh, okay, so then maybe they put a joint here and a joint here, and let's try that myself, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I guess it depends.
Okay. Yeah, it's... Do you ever, like... this is just going back to, like, when you were in college, and like you said that you originally were just thinking of just doing animation.
Correct.
For that, is there... I don't know how different it would be now compared to when you were there several years ago, but, like, do you still reference, like, non-3D animation to learn techniques from that at all?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually had a 2D animation class before your 3D one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is
And
it, like,
actually, before the 2D, we even had physics. So we had to take physics to understand animation in 2D, to understand animation in 3D.
That makes sense.
Yes.
We have ACH, he in the chat asking, how much programming does a tech animator do versus just rigging?
Like I said, it depends because we have a team and we divide our work.
Yeah.
So mostly, like, there are times, like last year, I was mostly doing programming, just building a pipeline and making sure our animators had the right tools that we needed to be able to work faster, and quality of life stuff. As well, I am still creating tools so we can use in our pipeline, but I'm also still doing rigs for whatever we need.
Okay. I'm also curious because before I was asking you just about, like, did you do any 2D stuff? Was the 2D stuff required?
For the class, yes.
Okay.
And I remember it was funny because the final project for that 2D animation class was a flip book.
Okay.
You just needed to make an animation on it.
Yeah.
But I guess I started doing that in middle school, just for the fun of it. I didn't even know animation. I never studied animation, but whenever I have free time, I will just take my notebooks. I'm just going to draw on the side of it, and just made a flip book by myself.
Yeah.
So I guess I've been pretty attached to animation since young without knowing it.
But, man, there was something I was going to bring up right there, and it just jumped out of my head. Isn't that the worst?
Yes.
Oh, man. But I guess, in your reel that we were showing a little bit ago, there was the first, like, 3D opening cutscene for Ages of Mayhem there.
Yes.
What was it like working on that game?
It was great. It was pretty fun, especially being my first game that I've worked on. And I definitely got to work a lot because I studied computer animations. It was, like I said, it was mostly for film. So it was the first time me being introduced to how to work in game.
Okay.
Thankfully, it was I was in charge of basically skinning all the characters, or most of them. And
can you explain what skinning is?
Yeah, so skinning is basically how we tell the geometry how much to follow each bone. So, for example, I should have a bone here, here, and here, and if I decide to bend this one, I need to tell the geometry not to break, or how to bend to
so,
make
like,
it to move
if it was
more
set
realistic.
up wrong, it would just be like just a really harsh bend right here. It would
Correct.
Just be, okay.
Or if you twist, and it will just twist horribly. It's like,
no.
Yeah. So it's basically making sure the quality or the realism that we want is in the character.
Okay.
Basically.
All right. But yeah, you said that were you being
so like working with all these characters, which is why it's one of my favorite scenes, because I remember my first agent, when you come out of school, you're out of school, so you got like the bare basics. When I got here and I started skinning, I'm like, yeah, I totally know how to do this, and let's do it. It took me a month and a half to finish the first character, mostly because you basically had to relearn how to do your job, because there is a quality level for college, but when you get here or any professional place, the quality line is so high, and it's like, oh wow, like I really need to get better at this.
Yeah.
And when I say that amount of time, it's like, things. How do you say this? It was basically, besides relearning, and you get to relearn how to, basically the whole pipeline, which is why it took me so long, right?
Yeah.
So I was just starting, and it was great. I actually enjoyed every moment of it.
Nice. You said it took you a month and a half for the first agent. Like,
Yeah.
once you got used to it, how long would it take?
Oh, it went down to a week.
A week?
And that
Wow.
is body and face.
Okay.
Yeah. So a month and a half for body and face to like just
Yeah.
a week.
Were
And-
there any specific agents that were harder to work on than others?
Yes.
Which one?
I vividly remember Gat.
Oh, Gat, really?
Yes. Because, we were all excited about Gat and everything, but one of our animators, which did a great job animating Gat, but he had this pose where his arm was going behind his back to shoot. And that just kept breaking my rig.
Oh.
It kept breaking my
right.
weights. And I needed to make it look good. And every pose, including that one, I went, oh my gosh, that took so much time, but it works.
I'm guessing with skinning and stuff, I'm guessing the big problem areas are like
Shoulder?
here,
Yeah.
shoulder.
Shoulder is the worst.
Is that like the worst area in the whole
It's
body?
the worst, at least for me, yes.
Oh man, because I feel like the other parts that bend, like the knees and stuff, it's probably like less likely that, I don't know, because the legs just nicely fold into each other. But like
Correct. But
here, it's just like if the muscles here like can't like flex and stuff, like I'm sure like everything's just like clipping all the time, right?
yeah, and also think about it this way: your knee only goes from one axis, right?
Right.
Versus your shoulder
God, yeah.
rotates everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm cracking myself here. Oh wait. So being able to like deform well in any rotation that you give it, so that takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And account for muscle and that it looks right and things like that.
Yeah. 'Cause
Also the armpit.
Oh, in the armpit too.
Yeah, because you have to raise your arm and this can't fly out. So you gotta
Right.
you should do it this way.
Yeah, I've always noticed like even in like, like some of the best looking games and stuff, like frequently if they do like a really big stretch here, this part just kind of gets stretched out a little bit. Like you can tell like via the textures and
Yeah.
stuff sometimes. And it's like,
And if in film it's easier to fix because you have in my other called blend shapes, and we call them morphs here,
yeah.
or corrective blend shapes, where whenever you have something breaking, you just change the geometry to fit where it should be.
Okay.
Honestly, that's how I fix my facial rig while in school.
Oh,
but,
all right.
I mean, it looks good. It works.
Yeah.
So, but in game, you don't have that. You can't use it. Well,
Right.
at least for Agents of Mayhem, we didn't use it.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I think our editor didn't have the capability of using morphs. So we had to skin the range of motion as best as we can, including that actually going up because it had to look right.
Yeah.
And we have, while skinning, we call it a rig breaker animation. Because it deforms in ways a body should never deform.
It just twists them all around.
Yeah.
Oh, I
and,
want to
like,
see this
it goes,
animation.
Like for the legs, it goes forwards and all the way to the back. Like your body should not bend that way. But we do it to be able for it to look good in the extremes, because if it looks good in the extremes, it will look good everywhere else.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's
I
something
had
my
no
lead.
idea there was like an animation just for like stress testing that stuff. Yes. I want to
Well,
see
we
that.
made it in house.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I want to see that sometime. That sounds very interesting. We have two questions in the chat. First, Feared Symmetry asking, "What's your favorite agent from AOM?" Either favorite to work on or just favorite all around, I suppose.
That's a hard question. Wow. I'm gonna say Scheherazade.
Okay.
Was one of my favorites, just because I loved her animation. So having to do her skin weights, and having to test it in game, I just had the fun.
Was she one of the ones that like had? Because I'm just thinking. From my remember of her animation, she was like one of the ones that like had a lot more poses and like had to flex a lot more.
Yeah, because she's the ninja, so
Yeah.
she would go.
She had a lot of cool poses and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
My first agent, which was Kingpin, will always have a special place in my heart.
Okay.
And I'm really happy to have touched Cat because it's Cat.
It's gas. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And we have Lord's Math asking, do the rigs have fingers, and how complex are they? Or are there more complex and less complex models depending on the situation?
Yeah, so the rigs do have fingers. Um, sorry, every time I think of fingers or rigging the fingers in AUM, I have no idea why. It'll always be on Fridays. Whenever I touch the fingers.
Huh.
It'll always be on a Friday.
All right.
So whenever I think
Finger
of
Friday.
fingers on a rig, it's a Friday.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're pretty simple. Except the thumb. I will guess it will be like the one that will give you problems just because it goes all the way
Just thinking
far
about
here.
it. Yeah.
And it needs to deform well in this little part of the hand. So they do have problems. It does depend on the character,
Okay.
especially if they're creatures. I mean, I didn't work on creatures, but I'm guessing like whenever you have like long, like a kind of dragons
yeah, like a
or
dead
whatever,
space monster or something like that. Yeah.
So it really depends on the model, but yeah, they're in there.
Okay. Oh, there was something else I was going to ask about the rig, specifically with mocap. It'll come back to me. Oh, what a shame.
Just like the snack in Parranda.
Yeah. God,
Nothing?
what was that? It wasn't mango. It was not mango.
Oh, you mean the one that had cheese on it? But that wasn't spicy though.
Maybe it wasn't spicy. Yeah, it did have cheese on it, though.
Okay,
what was
so that was guava.
Oh, that was guava. Right.
It was a guava paste.
Okay, that was really good, too. Now I'm glad I remember that was guava.
Yeah, I was like, I don't remember us serving anything spicy.
I don't know why I was remembering being spicy. It just had cheese on it. But yeah, that was surprisingly good. And I was like skeptical of that. It's just like, I don't know about guava and cheese together. But no.
It works.
Great. It works. But yeah, it's about 10 minutes before we wrap up the stream. So I guess I'll ask you.
Yes.
What are some of the games you've been playing recently?
As I've mentioned, Overwatch and Apex.
Are you playing Apex too?
Yeah, I'm playing Apex too.
How is Apex now?
Here's the thing. With Apex, I am not into battle royales.
Yeah.
But that is the only battle royale I'm actually able to play.
Okay.
Mostly because it has a similarity to Overwatch, that the heroes have, or legends have, abilities that you can use.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I died instantly. But, it's for the fun of just walking around and try to do something.
Yeah. We have Sarah Sculpts in the chat asking, when are you going to finish Persona 5?
Later.
When are you going to finish this 110-hour long game?
That's mainly the problem.
Yeah.
It's like an 80-hour game at minimum. I'll get to it. Sir.
Yeah.
I'll get
it
to it.
took me 110 hours.
Oof.
And now
I'm also
they're putting
playing-
out a new one with even more game, like a
No.
whole nother segment of the story. I can't do that.
Like,
again.
I'm also playing through Breath of the Wild right now.
Oh
'cause
yeah,
I
that's
never
gonna
had
take
it
100
before.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm this close to just going to like the important places and be done.
Yeah, I mean, if you do just that, you could beat that game in like 20 hours maybe.
Yeah.
But
I'll probably do that because I've been also, like, my roommate got me into playing Undertale, which I never did before.
You never played Undertale before?
No.
Oh man.
And it's so good.
Sans is in Smash now.
Yeah, it's in Smash now. And guess what I'm doing tonight? But it was great because my first run through that game, I had no idea that you can play it in different ways.
Oh, you went into that blind
I went
entirely?
blind.
You
I
weren't
had
spoiled in anything for that game?
nothing.
Oh man, that's the
Nothing.
best way to go into that game.
So whenever I saw Flowey,
yeah.
flipping Flowey.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
and now you'll have to play Delta Rune.
Yes, I actually saw my roommate play Deltarune.
Okay.
So I'm already caught up on that.
Okay.
And I can't
good.
wait for the next
Whatever
part comes next.
or next whatever. it's
Yeah,
gonna
but now
be.
we know that. I mean, I don't know if he has worked on it because he was working on music for something else. But
Oh yeah,
We'll
I
get
mean,
to it.
I've seen Toby Fox like tweet a little bit about like the project because I know he was like gathering up more people to like work on it along with
Oh,
him.
that's good.
So
Yeah, I need
know
to use
it's
Twitter more.
it is in development. But
yeah, and of course Kingdom Hearts.
yeah,
Anyway, it's my favorite game.
is that your favorite series of all time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I understand. I can't imagine everybody going crazy in the chat right now, but I understand its flaws.
Me too.
But I still love it.
Yeah.
Still my favorite game.
But yeah, playing anything else? I know you wanted to get a VR headset.
Yes, I want to play Beat Saber so bad. And
Have you seen that person playing Beat Saber with the staff?
no,
I don't know if it was custom made or what, but
I know there are
so
keyblades in Beat Saber.
There's what?
Keyblades.
Oh yeah, there's keyblades.
I don't want it.
So, oh man, there's a loaded question from Mike that he just sent me. We'll get to that in a second, Mike.
I can.
But Yeah, so there are like really popular YouTubers that do just Beat Saber stuff,
Yes.
and it's the
Seen
third
a few of
person.
them.
Yeah, I saw a video. Some lady has this really long staff with the motion sensing stuff on both ends, and it seems like custom stages made for it. But she's like twirling it and doing all these cool. It's so
I need
fucking
to see
cool.
this.
Yeah, I'll try and find that, send that to
Yes.
you too, because it's really cool. Anyways, here's the super loaded question: can you explain the story of Kingdom Hearts?
I can, but we're gonna need hours for that.
Is there any way to succinctly wrap it up?
Sure. You play as this boy that his world got consumed by darkness and got split up from his friends. So you go from world to world trying to find your friends, and it so happens that all these worlds are Disney worlds.
Yep.
So you see Donald and Goofy and Mickey somewhere.
Yep.
Until you fight them, and there's a bigger plot out of that, but we'll get to that in another time.
That would have to be a whole stream on its own.
Yes.
I feel like I've read
We
enough.
should.
I played enough of the games and heard enough about the others that I kind of know what's going on for the most part. It's just that there's like, oh, what's the deal with that specific anime character? I don't know. I'll find out someday.
I'm actually reading the manga right now
Oh yeah.
as well, and it adds so much personality to the characters.
That's
I
crazy.
love it.
I remember seeing that, like, the very first volumes of that. Unless this is, like, a rebooted one that started later. I remember seeing the first volumes of that in, like, 2007, like, at a Barnes & Noble.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I don't
Maybe
know.
that was a different one for, like, the first game or something.
Those are the ones I'm reading, so I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
So I'm trying to get them all.
All right. Yeah, it's... The only thing I've seen in that manga is, like, the Photoshop thing of Donald Duck, like, saying some really philosophical-sounding stuff.
If you can understand him.
Yeah. We got another question coming up, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I really want to play the rest of Kingdom Hearts someday.
Yes, please. Let me know when you do. And there's a Kingdom Hearts VR too now.
There's a Kingdom Hearts VR, and it came out like before 3 was released, and they were
Yes.
like, we're going to update it later, and then it wasn't until like a month or two ago that they did, and I thought they had just like abandoned it. Like, they're not going to make more VR Kingdom Hearts. It's
did.
like, no, they did.
And the thing about Kingdom Hearts is like they just grab you through your emotions. And when I saw like the latest update of VR, I was just trying to hold myself.
Yeah, I mean, it was, the Kingdom Hearts thing was literally the second VR thing I ever experienced. I think, no, like third. Because I didn't own any VR headsets until I got a PlayStation Move for my birthday this year. And it was just like, oh, Kingdom Hearts 6 VR experience, gotta do that.
Yes.
And then it was just like, I actually kind of enjoyed it. Even though it was basically just like a glorified like Disney fireworks show. They did it pretty well, though.
And now they're like saying kind of like stories. I'm not gonna spoil it. So
Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
it'll get
If
to
there's
that.
gonna
You're
be
welcome.
plot in there, now I extremely have to
yes,
do it.
And going back a little bit to Beat Saber,
Yeah.
I've only played it once. But here's the thing: I had surgery a few months ago, so I was
Yeah.
still like I had it on my arm, and I'm right-handed too, so it was on my right arm. So I was on a sling. Somebody brought a VR here with Beat Saber. I'm like, I need to try this. Like, it might be the only opportunity
Yeah.
I get to play this. So you saw me with a VR headset, and I played I think the easiest song. But
Yeah.
I was like, just moving my wrist and like
Yeah.
just going like this because I couldn't do much. I still have fun though. I want to try it again.
Yeah, it's really great. I mean, I have the version on PS4, which unfortunately, like, they added in the ability to mod in, build custom songs, whatever music you throw in the folders. Can't do that in the PS4 version, which I'm just like, because like there is, like, they keep adding more and more like song packs to the game, but it's just like the custom songs is like where appeal really is for me. So someday I'm gonna have to get a PC headset just to do that.
Yeah.
Especially because it just reminds me of, there's some really old, like, rhythm-based game that had custom songs on Steam that was, like, the big popular, like...
I was going to say DDR.
No, not DDR. It kind of looked like the Amplitude games where, like, the notes are coming at you and you're moving, like, a vehicle-type thing around to, like, run into the different... It's like Guitar Hero,
Really?
but, like, you're moving... Yeah.
I've never seen that.
I
Okay.
forget what it's called. But it was the game that like everyone gifted each other like every time there was a Steam sale in like the early 2010s.
Oh man, I need to look that up
I
now.
can't remember what it was called, but yeah, you would basically just throw a song and it would automatically generate a level based off the waveform of the song. But God, yeah, I can't remember what that thing's called, but I played that a lot, especially just because it was like, after a while, it was just like the joke game where you would just throw joke songs in there and just like people screaming and see what type of level it would make. Audio Surf, thanks, Mike. That's what it's called. Audio Surf.
Oh.
Yeah. It's still a pretty cool game. It's really old. That's the first time I thought about that game in like 5 years, probably.
You're welcome.
But, yeah, it's oh wow, it's exactly 5 o'clock right now, which I mean, I guess that means it's time to wrap up the stream.
All right.
But, yeah, thanks for being on and
thank you
talking
for
about
having
your
me.
stuff. I'm going to have to get that Piranha footage sometime soon on the stream, as long as we can get it approved and there's nothing like secret. Because I did like...
I don't think there's anything.
I don't think there was anything, but it was like,
You can always blur it out.
Yeah, we could blur it out, but it was also just like, we were going like office to office while people were working, so it's like there's always a chance there's something on somebody's monitor,
true.
whatever. But at least we'll have to get the pinata hit, which was just in the lobby, because that's...
Yes.
He
It was the
destroyed that
best.
thing.
It was the best.
But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. Once again, I'm Josh Stinson, the video editor here today. We had
Luis Rios, technical animator here.
And one notice, next week's stream is unfortunately going to be canceled. I know I just said like, oh, we're back to the weekly schedule, but unfortunately, like something just came up that's just like, I won't be able to be here to like host the thing essentially. So, yeah, unfortunately, it'll be canceled next week, but we'll be back the week after that.
Yes.
5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific. If you want to check out any of our earlier streams, any of our Saints Row Break the Build things, where we showed canceled Saints Row games and stuff from the past, like the PSP game, you can watch that on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/VolitionTube. Oh, we got one more question in the chat from Fear Symmetry. How do you feel about the game marketing How do you feel about the game we can't talk about right now? In the vaguest terms possible.
It's good.
It's good. It's great. I mean, we ask most people like, how do you feel about the project, and it's consistently just like, it's good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's all I can say.
Frank, last stream, one of our directors, Frank Marquardt, said it was hot shit. Well, he said it was hot, and then I told him he could say shit, and then he said hot shit.
Okay.
But
Yes.
yeah,
I can agree to that.
It's rad. I can't wait to show it one day.
One day.
One day. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. We will be back not next week, but the week after. Check out our stuff on YouTube, youtube.com/VolitionTube, and we will see you then. Later, everybody. Uh-oh, we still gotta end the thing. Hold on, I got it.
Oh, thanks, Josh.
Anyways, goodbye, everybody. I'll hit the button. Boop.